You're watching Trigger-Worthy Outdoors. In this episode, Paul Schulze is targeting two trigger-worthy bucks called Tenacious and Tank at the Trigger-Worthy Lodge in West Tennessee. Tenacious is a beautiful 10-point buck with long tines and almost perfect symmetry. Estimated to be 2.5 or 3.5 years old, Tenacious is seen often on trail cameras throughout the property. Tenacious has been seen on other properties nearby as well, and many hunters have him on their hit list. Paul's friend Artie took these pictures of Tenacious and shared them with Paul. Artie lives 5 miles south of Paul. There were a lot of people claiming to have seen this beautiful 10-pointer, and all the attention given to this buck was making Paul anxious. The deer known as Tank was more of a mystery. Estimated to be at least 4.5 years old, this huge, deep-bodied 8-pointer was only making his presence at night. It isn't every year that Paul has two trigger-worthy bucks of this caliber on his farm, and it looked to be an exciting hunting season. You're watching Trigger-Worthy Outdoors. Trigger-Worthy Outdoors is brought to you by Big Dog Tree Stands. Always imitated, never duplicated. We've given history of these two bucks Paul was after, so let's share a little history about the hunter. Originally from Ohio, Paul is no stranger to trigger-worthy bucks. The first buck he ever harvested was in 1995. It was a 13-pointer with a heavy mass, and he took it with a deer slug from a shotgun. That was the last deer Paul harvested with a shotgun. In 2001, after filling his one-tag limit with a bow, Paul was able to film this huge mainframe 8-pointer with a sticker point off his right G2 antler. Paul had to wait until 2002 to harvest this buck, which by then had grown another point. Paul harvested a beautiful 11-pointer early in the 2003 archery season. Early in the 2004 archery season, Paul had this monster buck stop at 5 yards facing the tree he was in. Paul waited at full draw with his bow for an eternity before this Ohio giant turned broadside. Paul slipped an arrow in the boiler room, and the buck expired within sight, 40 yards from the tree stand. Paul saw a huge and heavy white rack buck in the early 2005 archery season. This buck had a split G3 tine on his left antler. Paul was able to harvest this buck from the same tree stand that he'd harvested his monster 2004 buck. Trail cameras in early 2006 captured a tall racked mainframe 8-pointer with a sticker point of the right G2 antler. After several run-ins with this buck, Paul was able to harvest him after the Ohio gun season. In 2007, Paul passed on several nice bucks that were not quite trigger-worthy to his own personal standards. While his hunting buddies were still hunting, Paul picked up a camera and helped a young hunter harvest his first buck. From 2001 through 2006, Paul was able to harvest a buck a year with an average score of 150 inches. From that point on, Paul was committed to video hunting and saw this as a greater challenge and a way to share the hunting experience. Paul and his family moved to West Tennessee in 2008, and he harvested his first Tennessee buck in 2010.
Hey folks, I'd like to show you a buck that I just shot, well recently shot. This buck was taken in mid to late November here in West Tennessee, and he has a lot of unique characteristics about his horns. He's a 12 pointer, he's got an interesting little V right here. He's got a split G2 right here, and he's got some extra little points out on the sides here. So I thought from the trail cameras, I thought he looked like he was a pretty old deer. Has decent mass for a older deer. Pretty happy about this buck.
Now we're caught up to 2011, so stay tuned to see what happens with Tenacious and Tank. Trigger Worthy Outdoors will be right back.